Oh, yes. Oh, yes. Welcome to the review of Nottingham Forest. Unbeaten, no more. Nil. Fulham, 1. Raul Jimenez from the spot. And Fulham win away from home for the first time this season. Not only that, they keep a clean sheet for the first time this season in the Premier League. Yes, great day, great result. Not the best game, not the best performance. We will be honest here, of course. And let's go through the game. Let's talk about it. It won't take that long because there wasn't much in it, really. Um, I'm going to go through this game as how I tweeted it live, based off all the chances or not enough or not very many chances. But also there are some penalty shouts we need to talk about as well, for Fulham and for Forest. Of course, one resulting in the winning goal, which was Raul Jimenez, who put it away after Pereira was fouled. Let's go with, well, Fulham were unchanged again. Wasn't much of a surprise. Wilson came in on the bench for Sessegnon, and then we looked at the Forest lineup and we went, huh? What's going on here? Now, I must check something quickly because they obviously didn't have Morgan Gibbs-White. They obviously didn't have that sort of threat, but they basically went with a lineup which was, well, 2 up top, which was pretty bizarre. They completely changed the formation. Now, someone said to me that they did that against Liverpool, but I'm looking at the Liverpool lineup now, and they didn't do that against Liverpool. They played 4-2-3-1. But they did bring on... No, they didn't even bring on Taiwo Awoniyi. So basically what happened was Forest lined up like this. In goal was Sells, Anya, Milikovic, Murillo, and Moreno. At that point, I was thinking, yeah, fair enough. That's basically what I thought was going to happen. And then suddenly it was Anderson, Ward-Prowse, Yates, and Dominguez with Wood and Awoniyi up top. Was it a 4-4-2? Was it a 4-2-2-2? I think it was the latter. Wow. Okay. So Callum Hudson-Odoi and Elanga, the threats we talked about all week, weren't starting. So they're in a position they could bring them on off the bench, which of course is still dangerous. Of course, is still scary and threatening. But let's get into the game because those subs, when they came on, okay, Hudson-Odoi had a great chance. That was probably the best moment of the second half for Forest, but didn't create an awful lot. So the first real chance comes in the 19th minute. Awoniyi with the overhead kick over the bar. Nothing doing. Was quite close, but nothing doing. Leno then basically, with that incident with Chris Wood, the ball basically goes over the line. The flag goes up. Then the VAR check it because the ball's going over the line, so it's a goal, just to see if he was offside, and he was offside. Fulham don't concede and not get away with one, but Forest, that was a big moment in the game, but obviously it remained 0-0. A couple of like late scrambles in the box of Fulham. Emil Smith-Rowe had a shot that bobbled wide off a deflection, or there was one that was deflected, there was one that wasn't, and Raul Jimenez had a shot straight at Sells as well in the 27th minute. Like, not the Jimenez shot was okay. If he put a bit more power in it, then maybe it would have troubled the keeper, but it just didn't trouble the keeper at all. Then at half time, I was like, this is a really, really poor game of football. Two sides who aren't really finishing very well. I mean, Forest, even in that first half, had a couple of long range efforts that dragged wide of the post, but it really wasn't a good first half. It was one of the worst I've seen so far this season in any game I've seen. And then 2 minutes into the second half, Pereira goes down in the box. Iwobi's shot is blocked, but VAR are checking a penalty. Now he does, and this is what Match of the Day is sort of how they analyze it and watching it back. Murillo's he does like drag his foot down the back of the ankle of Pereira. Forest fans, if you're watching, if he exaggerates it, it's still a foul. It's a penalty. Goal. Jimenez tucks it away. He takes 2 stutters and puts the ball as close to Matt Sells as he possibly could without Matt Sells saving it, and it goes in just about. 3 goals and 3 for Raul. He makes no mistake from the spot. Tete got booked. Lukic got booked. Of course, that was Fulham's first Premier League penalty since Wolves at home last season, a 3-2 win. Of course, we got 2 penalties and Willian stuck them away for 3 points. Right. Great double tackle from Bassi. Hudson-Odoi then curls one over. This is the big chance on 63 minutes. VAR then check a Forest penalty, but it isn't given. There was also one on Anderson in the first half. Not a penalty for me. I mean, matches they slowed them all down. None of these are penalties, in my opinion, and they weren't given. And if you say I'm biased, I just genuinely don't think that those sort of incidents are penalties at all. Lack of contact from Anderson, no real big significant contact by Bassi. So Bassi makes a really good tackle. He's still on the floor and he tries to recover the ball and he takes it away. Does he take out the man first? He makes contact with the man, but not enough. Not enough for me. Wins the ball. And then Hudson-Odoi curls in, cuts in, curls it. Oh, God, he did that against Forest last week. But it went over the bar, thankfully. Then what? Jimenez had a shot wide. He looked offside, but goal kick was given, I think. A couple of subs. Muniz tries a bicycle kick. And then into added time where, okay, Souza had a long-range volley straight at Leno. And that was really it in terms of chances. Bassi had a shot blast high and wide, and that was it in terms of chances for the game. What happened in added time was that the Forest had a lot of the ball, a lot of territory. They were trying to go forward into the final third, but they weren't creating chances. Fulham defended brilliantly. Anderson, Bassi, Tete, especially 3 out of those 4. Robinson had a good game, but those 3 were unbelievable. The fact that Tete was on a yellow card, also Reed and Leno got booked as well. Tete was on a yellow card in the second half. He was up against Callum Hudson-Odoi, and he defended superbly. He also had a couple of bursting runs into the box. And this is the thing, like Fulham, I'm fine with it because it was 3 points. But again, away from home, not the most convincing performance. Okay, Forest are a good team. They were unbeaten. It was always going to be tough. But Fulham did lack creativity on the break. They couldn't really find any chances to break away. And it was Kenny Tete sort of bursting into the box or Robinson down the left-hand side. Let me rephrase, actually. Fulham had lots of time on the ball in the second half where basically there was like this huge gap between everyone attacking for Forest and then the back 4 for Forest. So suddenly there was this huge gap in the pitch where basically Fulham were like strolling forward at times. They weren't even going at, full pelt. They were sort of just strolling up the pitch. And it was mainly like Robinson with Nelson sort of trying to combine. And Nelson was doing like some wiggly runs and cutting inside. And the final ball, like no one was ever in the box. No one was ever receiving no one was in the box getting on the end of a cross. And it would just go to the other side and Fulham would just try again and then lose the ball and then Forest would attack. But it just wasn't enough like quality from Fulham in those attacking areas. They had actually quite a lot of efforts blocked in the second half. The ball fell to like Smith Rowe or Iwobi and they just went for goal and it was well blocked. Sort of reminded me of the Ipswich game because there were so many chances in that game that were blocked as well. Just shots blocked. Let's actually go to the match stats and have a little look. Fulham had 59% of the possession, and expected goals of 1.33 to Forest's 0.8. Fulham had 14 shots in total, only 2 on target. 1 shot on target for Nottingham Forest out of 11 shots. I mean, that was the Souza volley. And Leno just didn't have to do anything all game apart from catch the ball. It was extraordinary. Block shots 7-5. And Fulham had 10 shots inside the box as well. It was quite frustrating. Fulham had the opportunity to get a second, but Forest got good numbers in front of the ball and we couldn't really find a pathway to goal. In fact, in the last minutes of added time, it was Muniz who was running sort of free and then he had Nelson, but they couldn't quite get there. They got their wires crossed and it came to nothing. But let's talk about the overall performance. Like I said, those 3, Tete, Anderson, Bassi, brilliant. Lukic, outstanding performance from Lukic. Pereira, he was okay. Smith Rowe, again, pretty decent. And then Adama Traore was always a threat. Jimenez, of course, getting the goal, and he was good in moments. But Fulham were finding it very hard, especially in the first half, to get any space outside the box. It was very, very intricate. with like Emil Smith Rowe on the edge of the box. He had Jimenez in the middle. Again, it was that combination with Iwobi, but Fulham's passing combinations that they weren't leading to much apart from that one effort on goal from Raul Jimenez when they actually broke into the box, or they got a pass into the box and got the shot away, which was straight to the keeper. Now, I got this wrong. Basically, I interpreted Silva's press conference when he was speaking as Pereira took the penalty or was trying to take the penalty off Jimenez. It was actually, this is very important, Jimenez was not meant to take the penalty. It was meant to be Andres Pereira, but because Pereira was fouled and receiving treatment, and there's been a bit of debate online about it, I don't necessarily know the rules, but someone said basically that Pereira still could have been on the pitch after receiving treatment and could have taken the penalty. I think Jimenez just went, no, I'm having this because you've been down for like the last 2-3 minutes receiving treatment. So a bit of a bizarre situation. Am I happy the goal's gone in? Yeah. Would I have been happy with Pereira taking the penalty? Yeah, I would have been because he scored a really good one away at City a couple of years ago, sorry. Our next opponents, of course. In terms of Forest, I think they made a mistake with the lineup. I think they should have definitely gone with the 4-2-3-1. What they tried to do was basically lump the ball into that sort of outside the box area and crowd Fulham out in midfield. Or basically, they had two strikers up top trying to hold up the ball, and then Fulham would try and get the knockdowns, and then Fulham would be a little bit all over the place if they'd lose out in those aerial duels. And yeah, they put a bit of pressure on. They won a couple of corners, but I never really felt like, oh god, this is their spell, this is their moment, they're going to score. Again, Hudson-Odoi cut in and shot over the bar. Sosa's volley, and in the final minute of added time, when they had a corner, they hit the first man with a corner, but Fulham still couldn't clear their lines, and eventually Fulham won a free kick and were able to clear their lines. Why were Forest offside all the time? Balls into the box, and the flag would go up, and the fans would get so frustrated. They were just standing in offside positions, and it was just easy for Fulham to sort of deal with that. There was also one instance where Forest won a throw, and it was a bit of a lull in the game, and the crowd just got up. They were like, "Come on, come on!" And then Forest took a throw, and it was a foul throw. And I think that's just sort of summed up the Forest performance. It was just a bit lackadaisical, little bit disjointed at times. And once Elanga and Hudson-Odoi came on, there was actually an opportunity where Elanga took the ball away, and I thought, oh god, he's going to get a strike away, and then Batty puts in an incredible tackle. Fantastic. Shall we talk about what it all means? I would love to do that. What does it mean? Fulham are 6th in the table in the Premier League, which has actually happened before. I think when we actually beat Forest away 2 seasons ago, we were like really high up there. I think we might have been like 7th or 6th. But this is great. And I don't want to talk about West Ham at home, but imagine if we hadn't dropped those points. We would have been joint 4th with Walham Green. We would have been joint 4th with Chelsea. And these are like it's very, very, very reasonable, and like to say that Fulham actually could still be unbeaten this season if we hadn't have switched off against Man United. I know it's all ifs and buts and blah 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 blah. I get it, but if we hadn't have switched off and like that one goal Xerxes scored, like he sort of like got it into the corner, if Fulham just cleared their lines and got the 0-0 draw. Even if we'd have drawn to West Ham, we'd still be unbeaten this season. My hot take before the season started was Fulham will be unbeaten up until City away, and we're just a Xerxes goal away from that happening. Hey, look, if someone said to you, look, you're going to be 6th in the table, 11 points after 6 games, looking at our fixtures, I go, yeah, I'd take that all day. West Ham, Newcastle, Forest. I was like, all of that before City away. I don't like that at all. I don't see many points. However, Fulham have picked up 7, and it should have been 9. It really should have been 9. So extraordinary start. This is great because I think Man City away is the toughest fixture you'll get. Okay, yesterday they weren't great. No De Bruyne and no Rodri. They're away from home at a Newcastle team. They're decent at home. I'm obviously more confident now that we can go to City and actually rustle some feathers. I'm not saying get a result, but rustle some feathers. Ruffle some feathers. Excuse me. Gosh. I think we can ruffle some feathers at the Etihad. But this is a fixture where if we lose it and going into international break, it's not as bad as many would think, because actually you've got that points tally to sort of the comfort blanket of that really high points tally at this stage of the season. You're not expected to beat City away. It's not a huge surprise if we lose. And you go, oh, you know what though? But we beat Newcastle, we beat Forest, so actually that kind of makes up for it a little bit. And anything we get at City is a huge bonus. We'll talk about it in the week, of course, and we'll make that point again. Wow, Fulham 6th in the league. Clean sheets really important as well. Silva was delighted with the clean sheet after the game. Fulham brought on a few players as well. Let's just quickly have a look. Fulham brought on Sander Berger, Reece Nelson, Harrison Reed, Rodrigo Muniz, and of course we went to the back five again. We're bringing off Emil Smith-Rowe for Diop like we did against Newcastle, and luckily it worked well. In terms of Forest, they brought on Elanga, Hudson-Odoi, Jota Silva, and Sosa and Nico Williams. Just like obviously like threatening players to come on, but Fulham had an element of control in the defensive areas, and Anderson was winning a lot of headers. Bassi was making a lot of tackles. Tete was winning a lot of one-on-one duels, and Fulham saw out the game. I wouldn't say with relative ease, but without Leno having to make an outstanding save, without people having to put bodies on the line. Like it was fairly, okay, we conceded a couple of corners, and that's always quite scary when the crowd gets up, but Fulham dealt with it. I think that's all to say today. To the Forest fans who may be watching this, the preview, they were very, very confident in the comments. Very, very, some were cynical, some were fair. That's just the tribalism of football. I tried to keep things to a minimum here. This is not a fan. I am a fan, obviously, but this is a journalism sort of take on things. It's not going to be heavily biased. It's not going to be heavy like, oh, Forest were rubbish, blah, 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 blah. I'm very fair with my assessment, I hope to think. I'd like to think. And then there might be comments saying, yeah, but you've just completely dismissed Forest should have had 2 or 3 penalties. In my opinion, seriously, I don't think they were penalties. I actually think the one on Kenny Tete looked more of a penalty. Fulham maybe should have had a second penalty in the game, but it wasn't given. Forest 0, Fulham 1, full time. Fantastic result for Fulham. Obviously delighted, but from a Forest point of view, you guys will have a good season, a very strong season. Once Gibbs White comes back, you get back to a 4-2-3-1 formation. Taiwo Wanyu was pretty lively as well, so that's a good option to have ahead of Chris Wood or instead of Chris Wood. And yeah, I think Forest will be absolutely fine this season. It's the sort of ground where I'm glad we don't have to go to the City ground for a while, but hopefully we'll be playing you again next season as well. Thank you so much for watching, Fulham fans. If you enjoyed it, please leave a comment below. Fulham fans, or Forest fans, who knows? If you did enjoy and you think, oh, I want to see more content, Fulham content, the Patreon is the best place. It's £5 a month. You get daily Fulham content. We have a really busy week coming up. 2 under-21 games and Manchester City away. And then on the Monday and Wednesday, there'll be content as well. During the international break, there'll be some insanely exciting content coming on the Patreon. I can't wait to bring that to you. All for a £5 a month. It really is a great place to get your daily Fulham content. Of course, I didn't even mention the press conference as well. On Thursday, we'll be hearing from Marco Silva. You get behind the scenes from the press conference, from the game. It really is a great place to get some unique Fulham content. So thank you so much for the support on Twitter and on YouTube and of course on Patreon. This is, of course, a video for YouTube and Patreon as well. Thanks so much for watching. And yeah, delighted. Fulham win by a 1-0. And we've got a whole week to prepare for Man City away. Thanks so much for watching. And we will speak again very, very soon.